Democrats want it buried. Wikileaks publishes emails linking them to Justice Scalia's death. Are you determined to keep Hillary Clinton out of the White House no matter what? Then you need to share this story with everyone you know. When U.S. Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia suddenly died in his sleep at the age of 79, the nation was shocked. And at least half of the country was suspicious that there was evil conspiracy going on behind the scenes. It was a cold morning on February 13 when Scalia died. He had just gone quail hunting, celebrating his Second Amendment right, and then enjoyed a delicious dinner at the Cibolo Creek Ranch in Texas. Although the man was exceedingly unhealthy, conspiracy theorists were quick to suspect foul play. Here's what you need to know, and it could end Clinton forever. Even the ranch owner, who found Scalia dead, had suspicions about the man's sudden death. We discovered the judge in bed, a pillow over his head. His bedclothes were unwrinkled, John Poindexter, the ranch owner, told reporters. He added that Scalia was lying very restfully. It looked like he had not quite awakened from a nap. Now Wikileaks, which has been exposing the Democrats with the help of Russia in recent months, revealed an email Justice Scalia received just 3 days before he suddenly died in his sleep. The shocking email went on to use the term wetworks, which is something often used in the military to mean assassination. Days after Justice Scalia's death, the Alex Jones channel released the conspiracy theory video, included below. Watch it now to see the information that could end Clinton's run for president. According to the description of the video, a Texas judge declined to order an autopsy for Supreme Court Associate Justice Antonin Scalia after she says she was assured the cause of death was a heart attack. The first line of the video sums up everything: was the death of Antonia Scalia yesterday in rural Southwest foul play. Watch the video now to learn why this means the end of the Clinton campaign. Then share it with your friends. Even the Washington Post reported, 2 days after Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia died suddenly in remote West Texas, a former D.C. homicide commander is raising questions about how the death was handled by local and federal authorities. As a former homicide commander, I am stunned that no autopsy was ordered for Justice Scalia, William O. Ritchie, former head of criminal investigations for D.C. Police, wrote in a Facebook post. You have a Supreme Court justice who died, not in attendance of a physician, Ritchie continued. You have a non-homicide trained U.S. Marshal tell the Justice of Peace that no foul play was observed. You have a Justice of the Peace pronounce death while not being on the scene and without any medical training opining that the Justice died of a heart attack. What medical proof exists of a myocardial infarction? Why not a cerebral hemorrhage? Do you think this conservative justice's death could have been foul play? Please share this story now to inform your family and friends about the lies Hillary Clinton might be spreading.
And we begin with a live look right now at the U.S. Supreme Court in Washington, D.C. The flag at half-staff. The High Court and the nation in mourning now following the death of Justice Antonin Scalia. The justice's body is still in Texas tonight, but was removed from the ranch where he was vacationing. And we are learning more now about the plans to return his remains to Washington. Welcome to News 8 at 5:30. I'm Jason Wheeler. It is the story that sent shockwaves through Washington and through the presidential race. News 8 was the first to report how Justice Scalia died, and the only local station with a crew on the scene. Justice Scalia died at a ranch just outside Marfa near the Mexico border. Our Jason Whiteley joins us now live from Marfa. And Jason, you spoke to the county judge who actually declared Scalia's death.
Indeed she did, Jason, and right now she's also telling us that the likely cause of death for Judge Scalia is going to be a heart attack. She is the one who pronounced him dead at 1:52 yesterday afternoon. She also told us this afternoon she's going to wait and talk to his personal physician before deciding exactly what cause of death to put down on his death certificate. And it was Judge Cinderella Guevara who also recalled for us how all of this went down, especially that strange phone call she got from the county sheriff a little later on Saturday. Take a look.
He says, Judge, I'm at Cibolo Creek Ranch and a Supreme Court justice has just passed away and I need someone here immediately both Justice of the Peace are out of town at this time. Sheriff, what did you say? Which Supreme Court justice died at Cibolo Creek Ranch and the phone was dead?
Cell phone service is spotty in far west Texas. It took another 20 minutes of drop calls for Presidio County Judge Cinderella Guevara to realize what had happened. U.S. Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia died in his sleep at Cibolo Creek Ranch, an upscale resort about 30 miles south of town. Scalia was visiting here with a friend from Washington, D.C. He was staying in the Presidente suite, went to bed Friday night, and never woke up Saturday morning. Guevara said she decided against ordering an autopsy after speaking with law enforcement on the scene.
One of the things that I did ask the sheriff and the marshal that was there if there were any signs of foul play. And
what did they say?
Absolutely not. And then at that time, I still wanted to be careful, and that's why I asked if the physician would call me.
And Judge Guevara did speak with that physician last night about 8 o'clock. She did speak with the physician about 8 last night. She learned that Justice Scalia had some chronic medical conditions. His body was actually discreetly driven from Presidio County here over about 3 hours to El Paso, where it was embalmed overnight. And at this hour, it is being prepared to be flown back to his home in Northern Virginia. Tonight at 10 o'clock, we're going to talk to the Houston millionaire who actually owns that ranch. And he was the one who also found Justice Scalia. An interesting interview we'll show you tonight on News 8 at 10. For now, reporting live in Marfa, Jason Whiteley, Channel 8 News.
All right.
Associate Justice Antonin Scalia is also a brilliant judge. He had a distinguished career as a lawyer and as a professor of law before joining the Court of Appeals nearly 4 years ago.
Justice Scalia, who died this week, was 79 years old, and he was the longest serving member of the Supreme Court. He was appointed by President Reagan in 1986. He was the first Italian-American on the court, and despite the controversy that surrounds him now, conservatives love him, liberals couldn't stand him, he was at the time approved unanimously. He's known for his fierce intellect, whether people agreed with him or not. And he was known for promoting a view of constitutional interpretation called originalism. That means that the words of the Constitution should be analyzed to mean what they did at the time they were written.
So, you know, I interpret it the way it was understood by the society at the time. And if you don't, now, this doesn't mean that there aren't new things that come up. Of course you have to apply the text to new phenomena, which the founding generation didn't even know about.
The court has a number of controversial issues before it this term: abortion, affirmative action, the Affordable Care Act, the rights of religious objectors to certain laws, and President Obama's plan to not deport millions of illegal immigrants. All of those hang in the balance for the Supreme Court, and with 8 members instead of 9, it means that a number of those could result in tie votes. Any kind of tie vote will just uphold the decision of the court below, but it won't set a national precedent. And so some of these very important issues may not be determined this term the way we thought they would. It also really moves the court into a central place in the political discussion and in the presidential campaigns. People who follow the Supreme Court are always surprised that it's not a bigger issue in the election, because a Supreme Court justice is really the most lasting legacy that a president can have. They have lifetime appointments and they stay on the court for decades.
I plan to fulfill my constitutional responsibilities to nominate a successor in due time. There will be plenty of time for me to do so and for the Senate to fulfill its responsibility to give that person a fair hearing and a timely vote.
The vacancy that Justice Scalia's death leaves is going to be very hotly contested. Republicans have already said that President Obama should not nominate a successor and that it should not be voted on before the election, that the next president should do that.
I really wish the president would think about not nominating somebody.
It's a very controversial claim to make, because the court, without 9 members, can tie all the time. It sort of ties the court's hand behind its back in a way.
Today I am keeping another promise.
Conspiracy theories swirl around the death of Antonin Scalia. 2 days after Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia died suddenly in remote West Texas, a former D.C. homicide commander is raising questions about how the death was handled by local and federal authorities. As a former homicide commander, I am stunned that no autopsy was ordered for Justice Scalia, William O. Ritchie, former head of criminal investigations for D.C. Police, wrote in a post on Facebook on Sunday. The death of Antonin Scalia, chaos, confusion, and conflicting reports. Scalia was found dead in his room at a luxury hunting resort in the state's Big Bend region by the resort's owner. It took hours for authorities to find a justice of the peace. When they did, Presidio County Judge Cinderella Guevara pronounced Scalia dead of natural causes without seeing the body, which is permissible under Texas law, and without ordering an autopsy. On Sunday, the U.S. Marshals Service, which provides security for Supreme Court justices, said that Scalia had declined a security detail while at the ranch, so marshals were not present when he died. When the marshals were notified, deputy marshals from the Western District of Texas went to the scene, the service said in a statement. Guevara said she declared Scalia dead based on information from law enforcement officials on the scene, who assured her that there were no signs of foul play. She also spoke to Scalia's doctor, who told her that the justice had been to see him Wednesday and Thursday last week for a shoulder injury and that he had ordered an MRI for Scalia, according to WFAA-TV in Dallas. The 79-year-old justice also suffered from several chronic conditions, Guevara said. She said she was awaiting a statement from the physician to complete Scalia's death certificate. The manager of the El Paso funeral home that handled Scalia's body said Scalia's family insisted on not having an autopsy done. But the decision has spawned a host of conspiracy theories online, as well as skeptical questions from law enforcement experts such as Ritchie. You have a Supreme Court justice who died, not in attendance of a physician, he wrote. You have a non-homicide trained U.S. Marshal tell the Justice of Peace that no foul play was observed. You have a Justice of the Peace pronounce death while not being on the scene and without any medical training, opining that the justice died of a heart attack. What medical proof exists of a myocardial infarction? Why not a cerebral hemorrhage? In an interview with The Washington Post, Guevara has said she rebutted a report by a Dallas TV station that Scalia had died of myocardial infarction. She said she meant only that his heart had stopped. Ritchie also raised questions about the marshal's actions. How can the marshal say, without a thorough post-mortem, that he was not injected with an illegal substance that would simulate a heart attack? Did the U.S. Marshal check for petechial hemorrhage in his eyes or under his lips that would have suggested suffocation? Did the U.S. Marshal smell his breath for any unusual odor that might suggest poisoning? My gut tells me there is something fishy going on in Texas. A spokesman for the Marshals Service said Monday that the Marshals did not make a formal determination of death. He directed questions to the county judge who made the call. Scalia's physician, Brian Monahan, is a U.S. Navy Rear Admiral and the attending physician for the U.S. Congress and Supreme Court. He declined to comment on Scalia's health when reached by telephone Monday at his home in Maryland. Patient confidentiality forbids me to make any comment on the subject, he said. When asked whether he planned to make public the statement he's preparing for Guevara, Monahan repeated the same statement and hung up on a reporter.